Welcome ladles and jelly spoons and everyone in between to N-Gage's top 5 Mortal Kombat games. Today we're stepping in the arena to test our might, share some brutally honest opinions about the series and of course deliver the ultimate fatality with my picks for the top 5 games in the franchise. Let's get into it.
Hang on a minute. Is he here again?
Yeah, I'll go and get the spare room ready.
No, it's all lad, because I'm not sharing a room with him, you know. He snores for days. Christ, I don't know what I'd do if I had to share a room with him again.
Well, of course you could. Finish him.
Welcome to my top 5 countdown to my favourite Mortal Kombat game in the series. The list is subjective, so if you don't like it, tell me in the comments down below how wrong I am. Please remember to subscribe. First though, remember, it's my list, which means these games hold special memories for me.
Alright lad, we get it, your list's rubbish, and most likely none of the games you're going to talk about will feature in the book 1001 Video Games You Must Play Before You Die by Tony Mott, the absolutely fantastic editor of Edge magazine.
Well Pat, let's find out. In at number 5.
There's so many of the stable Mortal Kombat characters that just aren't in this at all.
Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance released in 2002 for the Xbox, PlayStation 2, GameCube and Game Boy Advance. The game was developed and released by Midway and was the first Mortal Kombat game produced exclusively for home consoles with no preceding arcade release. It is the 5th main installment in the Mortal Kombat franchise. The game is a direct sequel to 1997's Mortal Kombat 4.
The game focuses on the eponymous alliance between Sorcerer Quan Chi and Shang Tsung and their attempt to revive an ancient army with the goal of conquering Outworld and Earthrealm. The game is the only main installment not to feature series protagonist Liu Kang as a playable character, as his character were killed in opening sequence by the Sorcerers. This is also the first Mortal Kombat game that did not involve John Tobias, who had worked on all the main games previously.
The critical reception for Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance was generally positive, as it resurrected the series that had been waning since the late 1990s. IGN praised the game for reinventing the Mortal Kombat formula, pointing specifically to Ed Boon's implementation of true three-dimensional fighting, entirely different fighting styles, and a deeper, more intuitive combo system.
GameSpot declared Deadly Alliance the second best GameCube release of November 2002 and gave it its annual Best Fighting Game on the GameCube award. By July of 2003, according to IGN, Deadly Alliance had sold 2 million copies, and by April of 2011, Ed Boon said the game had sold 3.5 million units, don't you know?
I think you can have this one. Yeah, she's done one, he's got one.
There we go, just put you down, love.
When Mini N-Gage loaded this game, he was shocked to see fan favourite and my personal favourite at the time, Liu Kang, and even Shao Kahn was killed within the first scene. But this added to the intrigue of the game and gave more characters a chance to shine, and to be honest, Mortal Kombat benefited in the long run from this decision, at least in my opinion.
Wait, what's he doing here again? N-Gage, get the kettle on. In at number 4...
Uppercut me. I would have gone down.
Would have gone down, yeah. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 is a fighting game developed and published by Midway, released for the following platforms: Sega Saturn, Sega Genesis / Mega Drive, iOS, Super Nintendo, Java Mobile, PlayStation 2, Xbox Live Arcade, and in arcades. It is a standalone update of 1995's earlier Mortal Kombat 3 with an altered gameplay system and additional characters like returning fan favourites Reptile, Kitana, Scorpion, and Jade, who were missing from Mortal Kombat 3. 2 new gameplay modes have been introduced since the original Mortal Kombat 3, including 2-on-2 mode, which is very similar to endurance matches, but with as many as 3 human players in a given round on both sides. New 8-player tournament mode and extra master difficulty is present, as well as Shao Kahn's Lost Treasures, which feature selectable prizes, of which some are extra fights and others lead to various cutscenes, or other things that are introduced after either the main game or the 8-player tournament are complete.
For me, what stands this game apart is the huge amount of characters available, especially after the disappointing roster for Mortal Kombat 3. Ultimate MK3 featured 22 playable characters, including 3 unlockable characters. At this time in the 1990s, this provided players with a huge amount of playable characters that we didn't always see in other fighting games. For me, what makes this game truly amazing is it took something that wasn't as successful in Mortal Kombat 3 and turned it into one of the best Mortal Kombat games ever that is still great to play today.
Critical reception for the game has varied depending on which version of the game was under review. The game received generally positive reviews for the 32-bit Sega Saturn, which some critics claim was the definitive version of the game, despite the load times during Shang Tsung's morphs. Reviewing the Sega Genesis/Mega Drive version, GamePro said that the graphics and controls are solid by 16-bit standard, but the arcade version's voices and music are poorly reproduced, and that the game offers too little beyond the previous installment of the series.
Oh! Come on! Oh!
Yes!
Come on, Kibble!
God, that was close. Interestingly, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 holds a special place for series co-creator Ed Boon, who has said it's his favourite Mortal Kombat arcade title.
Who is this Ed Boon chap you keep waffling on about?
Mr. Boone, I know him from Badger Watch. Badger Watch, by the way, is a group I attend every Wednesday. Take me night vision goggles, some tasty overalls with badgers embroidered on the sleeve, and a nice cup of tea to keep me warm and fuzzy in the tummy whilst I wait for the spectacle that is badgers to appear. Mr. Boone, what a fellow. Anyway, number 3.
Mortal Kombat 9, developed by NetherRealm Studios and published by Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment in 2011. The game was seen as a reset for the franchise after fans and critics had started to see the series once again decline in the mid to late 2000s. The game was released for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 in April, with the PlayStation Vita port being released in May 2012. A complete edition of the game was released for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 in 2012 and for PC in 2013.
Storyline involves Raiden attempting to change outcome at end of previous game, Mortal Kombat Armageddon. He does this by contacting his previous self as he faces defeat at hands of Emperor Shao Kahn. Now, whilst the game features characters and levels rendered in 3 dimensions, gameplay distances itself from the 3D graphic style seen in the last 5 games, bearing closer resemblance to the 2D era at series. The game had 28 playable characters at launch, with an additional 4 characters available as DLC. One of those DLC characters was Freddy Krueger from the Nightmare on Elm Street series, which provided a new opportunity for Mortal Kombat to bring in additional characters from other mediums outside of the world of video games into Mortal Kombat. This tradition has continued into later games such as Mortal Kombat X, Mortal Kombat 11 and MK1, where players could play as Jason Voorhees, Spawn, the Terminator, the Predator, a Xenomorph, Leatherface, Rambo, Ghostface and many more. This gave players new excitement for the reveal of future characters that would be released as DLC with each game, and became a staple of the franchise for the next 3 games after Mortal Kombat 9.
Before its release, Tech3 called Mortal Kombat one of the main reasons to own a console in 2011. The game went on to win several awards for Best Fighting Game that year. It was widely praised by critics, with many saying it was the perfect reboot for the series. It brought a strong sense of nostalgia for longtime fans, whilst also pushing the series forward in a big way. A year later, GameZone still considered Mortal Kombat 9 the best fighting game available, calling it the greatest modern fighter at the time.
The game will refuse classification, however, by the Australian Classification Board due to violence. Warner Bros. Unsuccessfully appealed the decision. This decision was not well received with fans though, and after a lot of back and forth, the Australian Classification Board gave the game an R18 plus classification, and the complete edition of Mortal Kombat 9 were released uncensored in 2013. By 2013, the game had sold close to 4 million units, and game story mode, which were heavily praised at the time, influenced the way story modes were designed for future Mortal Kombat games and the Injustice series.
Is it?
Yeah, very, very slow.
Is that why he was...
Yeah.
Whoa! I mean, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 9 was a game that started a whole new and revitalised love for the franchise, and that's why in at number 2 is the sequel to Mortal Kombat 9. You guessed it, Mortal Kombat X.
Oh god, I can't remember how to do any fatalities.
down in one hit.
Mortal Kombat X is a fighting game developed by NetherRealm Studios and published by Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment. It was released for the PlayStation 4, Windows and Xbox One. Versions of the game were slated to be released on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, don't you know? But both versions were ultimately cancelled. Now, the game is a direct sequel to Mortal Kombat 9, taking place 25 years later after the events of the previous game. Like other Mortal Kombat games, Mortal Kombat X's gameplay consists of 2 players, or 1 player and a CPU, fighting against each other, with selected characters who would have specific attacks associated with them. Each character also features 3 variant fighting styles, allowing players to choose a variety of playstyles for each character.
For me, this game had the best DLC overall. Whilst MK11 and MK1 included more characters, MKX delivered something special with the dream match of Alien vs Predator, and on top of that, Jason Voorhees was, in my opinion, the most enjoyable character to play. The way he was designed and handled in this game, well, it was spot on. Adding Leatherface to the mix only made it better. These characters brought a lot of fun to the game, and they fit perfectly with its overall tone and style.
At start of the game, Shinnok is defeated by Johnny Cage, and the main course of Mortal Kombat X storyline takes place years after Shinnok's demise. Johnny Cage assembles a new team of young fighters, including Cassie Cage, Johnny and Sonya's daughter, Takeda, Jax's daughter Jackie, and Kung Lao's younger cousin Kung Jin. The young fighters are deployed to Outworld to resolve a civil war between former Empress Melina, who's obtained Shinnok's amulet from Kano, and Outworld's current Emperor, Kotal Khan, with whom Earthrealm has a fragile relationship.
Like MK9, MKX's story takes centre stage and is delivered brilliantly, allowing players to control different characters as the story progresses. The game launched with a total of 24 playable characters, with 8 more added as DLC. Goro was available as a pre-order bonus or included with the purchase of Combat Pack 2.
Mortal Kombat X received largely positive reviews upon its release. The Xbox One version was given 86 out of 100, the PlayStation 4 version was given 83 out of 100, but the Windows version was not met with the same praise. Many players criticised numerous technical issues with the game upon its release. Issues such as frequent crashes and slow netcode severely hindered the overall experience of playing the game. Selling more than 10 million copies worldwide, the game was the fastest selling game in franchise and the 9th best selling game in 2015 in the United States. An upgraded version of the game entitled Mortal Kombat XL were released in 2019 for PlayStation 4, Windows and Xbox One. Now, XL version features all the additional characters, skins and DLC that were released alongside the game's initial release.
Mrs. Blade.
Mrs. Blade.
Mrs. Blade.
Mrs. Blade.
What a game Ed Boon and his team delivered with Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat XL. Truly fantastic memories of playing a refreshed franchise that just kept on delivering. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much. Please consider liking, subscribing, and again sharing with your nearest and dearest. Now, my pick for the best Mortal Kombat game ever, well, it might be a little bit controversial.
Right, if it turns out that it's Mortal Kombat on the Game Boy, you'll be sleeping with Keith and Ed's badgers.
No, of course not, Pat. Don't be silly. However, in the game, one of Shao Kahn's intros, he says, "Let us make Outworld great again," which is a nod to Make America Great Again, the campaign slogan used by US President Donald Trump.
Oh dear.
You love to see it, a man pissing in the streets.
At number 1, developed by NetherRealm Studios and published by Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment, it was released on April 23, 2019 for PlayStation 4, Windows and Xbox One, with the Nintendo Switch version arriving later in Europe on May 10th, Mortal Kombat 11. The game is a direct sequel to Mortal Kombat X and features 37 playable characters in total. This includes 25 characters in the base game and 12 added later as DLC. Some standout DLC characters were the Joker, Spawn, the Terminator, Robocop, John Rambo and Melina.
Due to the level of violence within Mortal Kombat 11, game were banned in Japan, South Korea, Indonesia, China and the Ukraine, but this was down to laws surrounding communist symbols. Another area of protest from, I assume, a male-dominated fanbase were the desexualisation of its female characters. Ed Boon, who I now know is the main director at the series, felt that 2011's Mortal Kombat 9 were too unrealistic in how it portrayed its female characters, and that the game had gone too far in the sexualisation of its female characters. Thus, Mortal Kombat 11 were going to focus on creating more realistic portrayals of female fighters.
Well, you know, I'm proud of Mr. Boone on this one. I really am, because I remember a Badger Fest, 2017 it was. He came up to me and he said, too many badgers and too many women are portrayed in unrealistic ways in video games. Good on you, Mr. Boone.
Mortal Kombat 11's story continues straight after Mortal Kombat 10 and features Kronika, the Keeper of Time, as she tries to rewrite the previous game's history. Kronika aims to undo Raiden's interference from the previous game and erase him from existence. Once again, the story mode in Mortal Kombat 11 was a highlight for most players, as the story played out like a movie, allowing players to use different characters throughout the game. Another highlight for most players was the inclusion of a greater customization mechanic, similar to the system that was implemented in Injustice 2. Each character had an initial set of skins, gear and moves, which could be further customized by the player. However, unlike Injustice 2, the character's appearance does not determine their abilities, which allowed players to create custom move lists independently of the character's appearance.
Now, the reason I say this pick is controversial is that if you're a Nintendo Switch player, you probably don't have many good memories of this game due to the poor quality of the port on that system. The game also faced some scrutiny in 2021 when player Titanium Tigers was disqualified for naming his Shiva variation. Why did NRS do this? According to the player, the name was meant to be a mild criticism of Shiva's strengths.
Mortal Kombat 11 received favourable reviews upon its release. IGN praised the slow-paced combat compared to Mortal Kombat 10's, as well as the expanded tutorial. The story mode and improved netcode for online play were also praised. Mortal Kombat 11's biggest complaint from critics was the drawn-out progression and customization unlock system, which was described as frustratingly gimmicky and grindy. Despite giving the game 9 out of 10, GameSpot did criticise the game for always relying on the being online requirement for progression, as well as the random rewards in the crypt. In North America, Mortal Kombat 11 was the best-selling game for the month of April and was the 4th most downloaded game in the European PlayStation Store. By 2022, the game had sold more than 15 million copies worldwide, making it the best-selling Mortal Kombat game in the Mortal Kombat franchise.
Another reason I picked MK11 as my number one is its replayability, thanks to its grind, online play and the later story expansion Aftermath. That said, many people weren't happy with the high price of the Aftermath add-on or how expensive each DLC character had become. I agree that the cost of these games is getting ridiculous. It's easy to see why MK1, the sequel to MK11, has faced backlash in recent months, especially with Warner Brothers reportedly stopping all future downloadable content for that
You
game.
don't get the thingy fatalities, so. I do.
For me, when you look at MK11, its story, characters, customization options, and overall gameplay, it represents Mortal Kombat at its best. I've put countless hours into this game, and I don't regret a single second of it.
Oh, Mr. Gage! It's a boy!
Oh my god, this is awful! But I love it! I love this game so much that I still choose to play it over the newest entry, MK1. That said, I am excited to see what comes next for this franchise that, to be honest, I've just loved for the past 30 years.
And there we have it, Ladles and Jelly Spoons. A big thank you to N-Gage for his list. Please do let us know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with him. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do rectify this by clicking the subscribe button. And before we go, I'll leave you with this. Do you know what the NetherRealm's favourite dairy item is? Quan cheese. Cheerio, see you soon.